Hello, welcome to my studio. I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome. So today we're going to work on drawing, and I want you to use what you have. So I've got some printer paper here. I have a variety of pencils, and I want you to, again, use what you have. This is just a number 2 pencil. I've got a couple mechanical pencils. This is a Prismacolor. This is a graphite pencil, so it lends itself to smudging and smearing more, which is great. But I don't want you to feel like, well, if I don't have that, I can't do this. You can do this. So get a couple of pencils, and I'm just going to pick the number 2 pencil to show you. But I'm going to set it aside because I'm going to be using, to start out with, a Sharpie, because I want you to be able to see good. But you don't need to have a Sharpie. I'm going to use that. You're going to want a sharpener. Now, people buy and use electric sharpeners, and they're wonderful, but I tend to grind my pencils away just way too much. This is a metal. Go with metal. This is not something I recommend you buy at the dollar store, but I paid less than $3 for this. It has the 2 openings, which is really helpful, and it's just got a better blade, and you won't be frustrated with this. It's not expensive. Use what you have right now. But if you decide that you want to get some art pencils, colored pencils, anything that's a pencil, I use with this. Not expensive. When you're doing things with pencil, sometimes when you erase and you have little crumbs, if you use your hand, you're going to brush it away. You're going to smear what you're drawing. So this is just from the dollar store, Wet n Wild, any brush. I like, a fluffy brush, but I buy these frequently and buy the hands full. And then I can just use it for a lot of functions. This is the one that I'm picking for today. An eraser. I recommend a white block style eraser. Again, I bought this. It was 3 for $1 at the Dollar Tree, but you can get them in art stores, stationery stores. If you want to buy what would maybe be considered the best, a kneaded eraser, but I don't even use a kneaded eraser. There's nothing bad about it, but I find this works great for me. Okay, so what I've gotten the most requests for is faces. Oh, by the way, I do have some cotton buds. For faces, that's where I'm getting the most requests. So I'm just grabbing I'm tempted to use a number 2 pencil, but again, I'm just afraid that you won't be able to see well enough. So I'm going to start out with a Sharpie on this printer paper, and I want to use a bulky Sharpie. I have always a couple Sharpies anytime I'm doing stuff, because I don't know, it always seems like one doesn't work. Okay, we're going to start with a face. Human heads are generally ovals. Yes, they come in many shapes, but the overall general is an oval. So I'm just going to start by drawing nothing perfect, simple oval. And then I'm going to put my landmarks in. So top to bottom and in the middle. Those are our first 2 landmarks. Now, this is not where your eyes are. Your eyes are this far down. This is not your forehead. This is the tip top of your head. This is the very crown of your head, way at the top. So here's where we're going to lay in our eyes. And I'm just going to leave this many marks on here. I'm going to turn my paper a little bit. Now, to make an eye, first of all, the space between your eyes is about the size of an eye, a third eye. So it would be eye, eye, eye. I'm going to start right here, just a tiny bit below the eye, and I'm going to make a C shape. And that's your tear duct. And so I'm going to make it on the other side so that I start out with the basic layout where the eyes are going to be. And then between here and here, about the space of an eye. And then I'm just going to draw an oval half at the top and then an oval half at the bottom. I'm just going very simple. Now, 2 eyes, even on the same head, are never the same. So don't worry. See, this eye's a little bigger than this eye. Don't worry about that. Now, the iris of your eye. It's rare that you see an entire iris with white around it. That gives you a surprised look. I generally draw more of a, I would say, 3/4 of an eye, sometimes even just the two outside edges of the iris. But for today, I'm just going to give it and leave a little bit of white underneath. And there's our two eyes. Now, where does the nose go? Halfway between this point and this point is the landmark for your nose. So I'm looking at this and just trying to go halfway between, and that is the bottom, the nostrils of your nose. And then from here to here, so ignore this, just from here to here, that halfway point, that's going to be where the mouth lies. And there we have our landmarks. So to make a nose, I simply make two C shapes, one forward, one backwards, and then a U in the middle. And that's how I start out with the nose. And then the lips. Now, this line represents the opening of your mouth. So this is just one way. There's a lot of ways to do all of this, but for this, I'm just going to put on one side of my line a circle, on the other side of my line a circle, and then a little bit larger circle between. So we've got the 3. So then staying on my line, that is the demarcation of where the opening of your mouth is, I head up to that line, then I dip down between the two circles for my Cupid's bow, and then I come back down to that line. And then for the bottom, I just draw this line to the bottom of that circle and then bring it back up. And there is your basic face. So how do I even get this far? There's 3 points I want you to remember. They're practice, practice, practice. You can replicate this over and over again until you're feeling comfortable. Now, ears. 2 things about a face. Ears and teeth. They can really make or break your picture. I often ignore both, but you don't have to ignore both. So, an ear generally goes from the top of that eye line to the bottom of the ear is to this nose line. So I would just lay in an ear like this. I don't know how to describe that line, but there's your 2 ears. Now, what about the neck? Or I like to call it your throat. I always feel like humans have throats and chickens have necks, but whatever you want to say. So if the face is looking straight on, your neck structurally starts right at the bottom of your ears, but we don't always see that part. So I tend to start from the bottom of that mouth line and just bring it in and down and bring it in and down. And there's your throat. Now, when you're drawing kind of fashion drawings, you may want to make it longer and narrower, you know, just depending on what look you're going for. But here is your basic human face. I'll add just a couple more details. How about some eyelids? The eyelid starts at that teardrop C shape, and it can run as high or as low as you want over the eye. And again, no 2 eyes are the same. The eyebrows can again be laid in wherever you want, but your eyebrows generally start from the corner of your eye in that vicinity. Maybe I'll just go ahead and draw some landmarks for the eyebrows to start. And then I do short strokes. So I just do little short strokes. And there is your basic eyebrows. Now, You'll say, well, you know, some people have a unibrow, some people, all true. Right now, fashion is dictating that our eyebrows are just a little bit bigger. So we can do that. But it is rare that your eyebrows get much lower between here and here. So to make your eyebrows just a little bit wider, you want to add more to the top than to the bottom. But it all up to you. And when you're practicing, give it all a different try. So pupils. The main thing about your pupils is that they rest generally towards the middle of the iris. And this is where you want them more the same, where you land one. So I'm going to land it right here on that indicator of where my eye gets laid, and then make them about the same size and in about the same position. And that's when your eyes are working together. So it's unusual that you would have a pupil up high and a pupil down low. So basic human face. I hope this makes sense to you. So let's take it down. And what I'm going to do, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but once you feel confident, go ahead and make yourself a black or whatever marker you have, a dark marker, and then you can just put it under the next piece of printer paper. And then I don't know if you can see, but I can see that basic outline of the landmarks of the face. So I'm going to take now that pencil and I'm going to work on top. I'm not going to draw the landmarks in. I'm just going to start drawing the face. Now, here's where we have just a little bit of change. In your skull, there is a dip by each eye. So I'll go ahead and lay the oval in, and I'm just going sketchy. And I hope you can see that. And then I'm going to go ahead and put that C and then a backward C, and then bring my eye in and bring my eye in. And there's my two eyes. And then I'll go ahead and lay in my nose. So here is the nose, and then the mouth, following that same pattern that I have underneath. And there's my mouth. Now, corners up a tiny bit, and it'll give you more of a smile face. Then the ears. Oh, the dips. We didn't do that, so I'm going to show you. So I'm just going to take where the eyebrow would be and just kind of bring that in a little bit on each side. And it's more pronounced on some people than the other. So I'm going to go ahead and take my eraser and get rid of these marks so that I have more of a thing. And here I'm using my hand, but I know that this pencil's not really going to smear too much. So bring this in and bring this in a little. And that kind of gives you your cheekbones, and we have, you know, fat in our faces in this area. So that's what that brings in. Now I'm going to go ahead and put that throat in. I'll go ahead and put these irises in, and a pupil, and a pupil. Can you see the face developing? I'm going to add some eyelids, eyelid, and then the eyebrows, short strokes. And this is kind of a suggestion. We're not looking for photorealism, clearly, but we're just suggesting. Okay, so our noses. Our noses are really just these lines. Then you have the actual nostril. And so for that, I just give a little indication, and then I usually depend more on shading. Same with the bridge of the nose. Our eyes are in a bit of a hollow, so I'm turning my pencil sideways, and I'm just gonna sketch in, and I'm really drawing a shadow, not so much a specific nose. But there is the suggestion. Now, under the nose and between that and the lips, there's usually a dip. And again, I'm just suggesting that with a little shading. Under your mouth, again, a little shading because that creates a shadow there. And then everyone's chin is different, but sometimes you just want to indicate a little bit of a chin. Now, under the throat here, under the chin, but on the throat is again, we cast a shadow. And depending on where your light source is, that shadow is going to vary. But I'm just going to lay it down here on one side. Then there's the structure of your throat, which I think of that as a V shape. And so I usually will kind of work a little shadow in this direction. So there is our face and our throat. Now, we can add the next thing that I think always makes a person look more human is hair. So I'm just going to pick, we'll do a center part since we've got that center line. I'm just going to indicate some hair. And then often your hair even goes higher than this just because it's puffy. So I'm just going to give a basic indication of some hair. And I mean, I'm holding the pencil way at the back, so obviously I don't have amazing control over the pencil, and I am just putting in some individual strands of hair. And there we have a basic face. Now, if we want to do just a little more shading, I can, again, with the side of my pencil, bring this in and kind of bring in a nose shape. And this is where you can get those cotton buds going. Now, again, we've got shadow here. So I'm going to put some shadow opposite here. And there'd be a little less shadow here. Now I'm going to take one of these cotton buds. And I'm just going to kind of blur this so that it's just a little more subtle. But you can see her coming alive more and more. And again, number 2 pencil is not some kind of artist grade special pencils, and they're out there. And just a number 2 pencil, and I'm just shading in the face just to give her kind of some magic. Under your hair, from where your hair ends and your forehead starts, there's usually some shading from the shadow of your hair. And then over your eye, that eyelid can just kind of shade in the crease. There. Very basic, very simple face. How do I get better and better at it? Well, practice. But now I'm going to show you some magic. You ready for some magic? Let's move these. And I'm going to show you what those guidelines can do. So I'm going to go back to the Sharpie marker. And I'm just going to draw 4 ovals. They're not the same. Nothing special. Now, those 4 lines can help you direct the glance of a face and the stance of the head, but yet you'll still know where to put your features. So if I just make, instead of going straight up and down, if I just make that halfway line here, and then halfway between the 2 here, and then halfway between the 2 here, can you see what I'm doing? I'm creating landmarks for where my face is, direction is looking. So you can adjust this and you can really create more of the glancing lines or where I would lay it in if my girl or my guy is looking up. So let me just show you how I would use this. So this eye would go here. You wouldn't even necessarily see the whole eye. This eye is going to go here. I'm going to put the nose, just the same U shapes. And then the mouth here. Now, because there's what's like foreshortening, this side's going to look smaller and this side's going to be a little bit longer because this side's further away. This side is closer. But you can see how this helps me to lay in where a face would be. Now, remember I told you the bottom of the ear is where structurally the throat is? So I can lay in my throat here with a shoulder. So you can, again, get the idea of where a face is. And I'll try one more. Here we go. A C shape. A C shape. Nostrils. Mouth. And her throat, shoulder, and there. So the guidelines can help you not only in that straight on face, but on a face that's heading in a different direction. And stick our ear in here, eyebrows, and I'm just trying to, you know, flesh them out. You're going to see more of the nostrils because her head is turned up. More shadow here. Less shadow here. You can see how this can just turn into, you know, a face. Less hair showing on this side. More hair showing on this side. And then we're going to have her chin is going to be more in this area and then, you know, bring that throat down. But you can just see how this can send you in the right direction of where to lay features. Now, these are not masterpieces. They're just practice. Okay, I hope this gives you a jump start on how to work your faces. And in the next video, I'm going to be adding some color. Hope that you liked it. If this is helpful, if this has inspired you, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks.